I want you to all imagine a desert island. On this beautiful piece of paradise, you see this gorgeous white sandy beach. And as far as your eye can reach, you see huge bags. You quickly discover that there is a bag for every commodity since the beginning of time, either created by God or manufactured by man. So there's a bag with all the gold since the beginning of time, and there's a bag with all the sand in the world, a bag with all the clothes in the world. That's a big bag. Which is the largest bag on the island? If you ask me, it's the bag of words. God creates us on the sixth day, and there has not been a moment of silence since. Right? Now, I want to tell you about a night I wish I had some words from that bag. I want to tell you about the night I almost proposed to the girl I wanted to marry. There we were. It was a gorgeous summer's night. We were sitting on a quaint little bench, beautiful lamplight shining on us from above. I had the ring in my pocket. Everything was set. Except one problem. The words would not come out of my mouth. 4 simple words. Will you marry me? Could not escape my lips. Now make no mistake, I had no doubt in my mind this was the girl I wanted to marry. She's gorgeous, she's wonderful, changed my life. Words wouldn't come out. Finally, I somehow managed to blurt out the ever so awkward, what would you say if I happened to have a ring in my pocket? Right? And the girl's face, this poor girl, complete shock. She had no idea what I was on about. Why was it so hard for me to utter 4 simple words if I knew this was the girl I wanted to marry? So I want to share with you a Jewish idea, a beautiful Jewish idea that helped me understand why. And for this, we need to start with a Mishnah, right? The bottom line, the Tachlis. So I'm going to take you to the tractate of Arechin. Arechin is a tractate that deals with the value of our promises or vows made to the temple. Now, there is a shocking Mishnah with a shocking verdict, where we learn, at the bottom line of the Mishnah, is that if you speak Lashon Hara, right, if you start a rumor about someone, you have to pay double fine than had you actually committed that sin you were framing them for. Now, I'm going to say this in simple English. If I stole in a Jewish court of law, I will only pay half the fine than if I spread a rumor that someone else stole. It gets worse. The Talmud that elaborates on this Mishnah teaches us that Sarat, right, leprosy, the enigmatic plague that comes about, we don't know why. There's a sage that teaches us that Sarat comes about for speaking Lashon Hara, for speaking slanderous words. So Judaism sees words as so destructive that not only do we pay double on a court, a human court here on earth, but up in heaven, we are sent down the punishment of Sarat. The Mishnah concludes and teaches us, right, where do we learn this from? From the slandering of the spies. As you'll recall, the Israelites are on the verge of entering into the land of Israel. A little bit of cold feet. They ask God, can we send in a delegation? No problem. Delegation goes, delegation comes back. The report, somewhat slanderous. It starts off promising, but then very quickly it becomes, there are these huge giants. How are we going to be able to defeat them? And the not so promising real estate aspects of the land of Israel. And God is furious. This is the one time in the desert that God does not forgive the Israelites. He says, you will die in the desert, and only your children will enter the land of milk and honey. Now let's recall, even for the golden calf, God forgave us. Right? What happened there? The Israelites, God takes us out of Egypt, parts the sea, and the cherry on the icing, the peak, the night of our wedding with God. Right? God, the eager husband, comes home with the Torah in his hand, with the ketubah in his hand, and what does he find? He finds us in bed with a golden calf. For adultery, for idolatry, no biggie. God forgives us. For a few slanderous words, no forgiveness. So why are words so destructive in Judaism, even more so than action? So for this, we need to understand the power of words in Judaism. And for this, I need to take you back to the beginning. I mean, the beginning. And in Judaism, we don't believe that God created the world. We believe that God spoke the world into existence. And the difference between the two is massive. They are literally worlds apart. True, in the first verse it says, "In the beginning God created heaven and earth." However, we very quickly learn that this heaven and earth, they were chaotic matter. They were tohu vavohu. They were not the world as we know it today. Only when God speaks the first sentence in history, and God said, "Let there be light," only then do his words give matter meaning. Only then does the world become what we know it to be today. Words are the most precious commodity in the world. And this is why Judaism sees them as the most destructive, and they are more powerful in action. They are what shape this world today. The Talmud teaches us that not only God can create with his words, the righteous can also create with their words. Who are the righteous? Well, King David, Psalms 15 teaches us, amongst other criteria, not having a slanderous tongue, never having spoken unclean words. Such people can create with their words like God created. And so we learn in the Talmud about Bezalel, right? The chief artisan who was in charge of creating the holy vessels for the temple. How was such a man chosen? Why did God choose him? And we learn that not only was he a righteous person with a clean tongue, but he also knew a secret. He knew the letters and words that God used to create the world. And this secret passes on. We learn in the Talmud of Rabbah, a sage living 2,000 years ago, who was able to create a man with his words. Rabbah is creating a man with his words 2,000 years before scientists are creating sheep called Dolly. Now, let's consider this for a moment. We've just learned that words are the most destructive commodity in Judaism. Each and every one of us, and unfortunately some of us, perhaps all of us know of this, we can destroy someone's life with the wrong word. Words are cheap, and yet they are very, very costly. We can all destroy with our words, and yet only the righteous can create with their words. This is a tragic asymmetry. It's not fair. And what follows from this, Judaism points out one of the greatest ironies in the world. We treat words as the most taken for granted commodity in the world, more than the oxygen we breathe. And yet, according to Judaism, they are the most precious commodity in the world. They are what created the world. Now, economists teach us that what is common is cheap, and what is rare is valuable. We all got words, and we all use them all the time. And so I think that leprosy perhaps comes about because when we speak bad words about someone, we have created an actual social mark above their aura, above them. And there's something that has been destroyed. And so a physical mark will come about that person, like an eye for an eye, to show your words might be cheap, but they are costly, they are destructive, more powerful than anything. And I think the reason a righteous person with a clean tongue, if there are such in the world, the reason a righteous person can create with their words is because they dish them out like gold. Their words are rare, and they use them in instances when they need to. I think that when we look at our lives, Judaism wants to teach us a beautiful lesson. We don't need to wait for those rare moments. I want to go back to the night I almost proposed. I thought about it. Why was it so hard for me to utter those 4 simple words? Right? I couldn't. And I realized it was the first moment in my life that I was able to transcend beyond this tragic asymmetry of words, because I felt the power of the words, and it was overpowering. I could not utter the words because I realized that if I speak these 4 words, my life's going to change forever, this gorgeous girl's life's going to change forever, nothing will be the same. And I couldn't say it. And I think each and every one of us have instances in our life, right, where we feel the power of our words, and it is overpowering. We almost can't say what it is we want to say. And it doesn't happen often. But you see, Judaism doesn't want us to have to wait for those rare moments. Life is too precious. So Judaism teaches us a beautiful lesson. Simply speak a little less lashon hara. If we simply think a little bit more before we talk, then when we do, our words will be more valuable and we will be able to create with them. We will be able to transcend beyond this tragic asymmetry of words by just doing the simple thing. You see, Judaism's concerned with that work email we're just about to send about that frustrating thing that happened yesterday. Do all the words have to be in there? Judaism is worried that we're not writing enough love letters. When was the last time we sat down and simply wrote a love letter to a person that we love? Now that night, I want to take you back to the night where I almost proposed. I couldn't say the words. I sat there, and this gorgeous girl, she's all confused, took her a while to compose herself. But then she said one word. She said yes. And that makes me a lucky man. Now let's go back to the island. Which do you think is the smallest bag on the island? If you ask me, it's the bag of words that create. It's a bag full of words of promises that are kept. It's a bag full of words that make other people's dreams come true. It's a bag full of marital proposals that lead to a lifetime of happiness. And I think one of Judaism's most beautiful lessons is that we need to make that bag the biggest bag on the island by simply speaking a little less Lashon Hara, and then when we do speak, even saying to someone good morning can change their day. Thank you very much.